Rain against stone. That is how discouragement often sounds inside the chest, a soft and constant tapping that makes concentration heavy and breath shallow, as if the ribs were a narrow doorway and hope had to squeeze to pass through. Perhaps today, the road you've been walking feels longer than it looked yesterday. Perhaps the coffee cooled on the table while you stared at nothing and felt the tiny gravity of doubt tug you toward the chair, toward the floor, toward the thought that maybe you are not built for this. I see you in that moment when motivation vanishes like steam from a window, and the task that once felt noble now feels like lifting a wet coat in the rain. You are not weak for feeling this, and you are not alone in it. The body keeps score of every pressure, the mind grows tender after too many demands, and the heart, so brave on bright days, needs shelter when the weather turns. There is a kind of fatigue that isn't solved by sleep, a quiet emptiness that sits behind the eyes and makes even simple decisions feel expensive. Neuroscience has a way to name it. The limbic system sounding alarms, cortisol rising like a cold tide, the prefrontal cortex dimming its lights to save power, and none of this is your fault. It is your biology asking for safety. You are not lazy, you are wired to survive, and when the inner storm gathers, your brain lowers the shades. What feels like failure is often just protection, and what looks like procrastination is sometimes your nervous system begging for a breath. So breathe, truly breathe, and let the lungs remind the rest of you that air still moves and space still opens, because from that breath we can place the first stone. Solomon once described a person without self-control as a city with broken walls, and the image is not harsh but helpful. The wall is not a prison, it is protection from the drift, from the wind, from the small foxes that spoil the vine when no one is watching. Discipline is the architecture of those walls, the shape that keeps the weather out long enough for the fire inside to catch. Emotion, beautiful and necessary as it is, behaves like weather. It changes, sometimes by the hour, sometimes without warning, sometimes in patterns we do not learn until years later. Discipline is different. It is the beam across the ceiling and the hinge on the door, the thing that does not care whether the sky is sullen or generous, because its task is to hold. When discouragement hits, discipline keeps you on your feet, not by denying the rain, but by giving you a place to stand while it passes, a floor that does not argue, and a doorway that stays square. You have waited perhaps for the surge, that sudden warm wave that lifts the body into action, that sweet burst of dopamine that makes everything look possible and near. That surge will return on its own schedule, yet building a life on it is like planting a garden only when there are clouds that look promising. You cannot bargain with the sky, and you do not need to. The wiser path is quieter, and it asks for less drama. It asks you to decide once and act daily, to make a small covenant with yourself in clear weather, so that when the clouds gather, you do not have to argue your way into motion. The brain loves fewer choices when it is tired. Each decision costs glucose. Each hesitation frays patience. And the gift of discipline is to reduce the number of choices to one gentle yes, one step, one faithful act, one small stone placed again and again, until a wall appears where there used to be only wind. I know how the inner critic speaks when the energy is low. It leans close and whispers that authenticity means feeling it first, that effort without fireworks is hypocrisy, that if your heart is not singing, then your hands should be still. That voice sounds noble, but it often keeps you away from the simple truth that feelings are visitors and values are residents. The visitors bring news about the weather, and the residents decide whether the house opens or stays shut. Solomon taught that the heart is the wellspring of life and must be guarded, which is to say cherished, nourished, and protected from floods of noise. Discipline is one of those guards at the gate, a watchman who does not shout, who does not shame, who simply points to the path you chose when the sky was clear and invites you, with a kind hand, to keep walking it. Look with tenderness at your mornings, at those first fragile minutes when the mind is most impressionable and the soul is still waking. This is where practical spirituality begins, not in grand vows, but in first fruits. A single verse, a quiet line of wisdom, a short intention breathed like incense over the day, and the brain receives a pattern to follow. Neuroscience calls it priming. Spirituality calls it devotion. Your life will call it mercy. When you offer the beginning to what is true, the rest of the day does not straighten itself perfectly, yet it leans toward alignment. In discouragement, the smallest honest ritual can become a doorway. Touch it, open it, step through, and notice how your nervous system softens when it is not asked to invent meaning, but only to remember it. There is a gentle parable pressed into scripture about the ant, who has no commander and yet gathers in season, who does not wait for applause to begin and does not demand a guarantee before it moves. The ant is small, and that is precisely the point. Smallness is an advantage when the task is steady, because the heart can carry small things even when the weather is bad. You do not need to lift the whole future today. You only need to carry one grain, and then another, and then another. In the language of the brain, small wins release just enough reward to make the path feel possible. In the language of the soul, small obedience keeps the lamp lit until morning. Watch the ant, learn its pace, and bless yourself with a scale you can keep. Today might not offer you fireworks, and that is not a problem to be solved, but an environment to be navigated. If you have missed a day or a week, if you have dropped the thread and now hold the loose end with a little shame, know that shame is not a teacher, it is a fog. What clears fog is not self-accusation, but orientation. Where am I? Where is the path? What is the next short stretch I can walk while I can barely see? The nervous system loves orientation. It calms when the map returns. The spirit loves orientation. It sings when the next right thing is simple. Discipline draws a quiet line on the ground and says, "Here, friend, place your foot here and then here and then here, and notice with relief how progress does not need to be dramatic to be real." You may feel a tug to isolate, to retreat from counsel, because the fog makes conversation feel like effort you cannot afford. Yet it is precisely in the fog that a voice outside your storm becomes a lighthouse. Wisdom, ancient and modern, agrees that many counselors stabilize the path. The brain borrows calm from regulated nervous systems, and the soul borrows courage from faithful friends. Even in this introduction, let the thought of one trusted voice come to mind, someone who can offer a single next step rather than 100 opinions. Your burden will lighten the moment you do not carry it alone, and discipline, firm yet compassionate, will be the practice of asking for light when your own lantern flickers. There is also the matter of time, slow and sacred, which does not bend to the urgency of comparison. Solomon spoke often of seasons, of the right moment to plant, to build, to keep, to speak, and this is not fatalism, but freedom. When you accept that growth honors season, discouragement does not need to prove anything about your identity. It is weather, not verdict. Seeds sleep before they split. Soil is dark before it opens. Hands look empty before the first green thread appears. The brain, too, needs time for new pathways to myelinate, for habits to shift from effortful to automatic. Discipline's gentlest promise is that repetition will take the heavy work from your will and give it to structure. And structure, once built, will carry you farther than adrenaline ever could. So we do not wait for perfect feelings, and we do not fight our biology as if it were the enemy. We befriend it, we guide it, we offer it a pattern made of small decisions and merciful boundaries, of chosen inputs and honest pauses, of counsel in the fog and a patient regard for seed and season. The storm may continue outside for a while, and that is acceptable. You now stand on a floor that does not move. Listen to the rain. Feel the air move through the room. Touch the first stone with your foot and recognize it. This is discipline, not punishment, but protection, not cold law, but warm architecture, the faithful craft that keeps you standing until the weather remembers how to clear. Some days, the air inside the chest feels heavy and close, as if the room had shrunk by an inch, and every movement asked for permission. You wait for motivation that never shows up. The mind scans for a spark and finds only fog. In that quiet emptiness, the body grows cautious, the breath shortens, and even simple tasks look tall. This is not a moral failure. It is the living intelligence of your nervous system trying to conserve energy in a moment that feels unsafe. The limbic alarm hums, stress rises like a gray tide, and the part of the brain that plans and chooses dims its lights to protect you. The heart hears that dimming and calls it discouragement. The truth is gentler. You are not broken. You are in weather. There is a sentence that can save hours of struggle. If I do not feel it, it will not be authentic. It sounds virtuous. It protects a tender sense of truth. Yet it confuses weather with worth. Feelings are holy messengers. They are not reliable architects. They arrive quickly. They leave quickly. They change their clothes in the space of an afternoon. Discipline is different. It is the beam and the hinge, the line that does not move when the wind has opinions. Feelings fluctuate. Discipline preserves you. This is not a rejection of emotion. It is a right ordering. Let the weather inform you. Let the architecture hold you. When the sky inside is unsettled, clarity begins smaller than you expect. Decide once, act daily, measure reps, not mood. This is how the brain rests. Fewer decisions, fewer arguments. Clear cues that tell your body what happens next. The habit loop loves this mercy. A simple trigger, a modest action, a quiet reward. Not fireworks, not spectacle, only the steady hum that tells your biology you are safe and moving. Each repetition becomes a thread, each thread becomes a cord, and soon the cord carries part of the weight that you used to carry alone. There is old wisdom that sounds like a doorway opening. Self-control protects like city walls. Hear the kindness in those words. Walls do not shame the house, they shelter it. They do not prevent life, they preserve life. The practice that keeps you standing during a hard week is not a cold law, but a warm structure. It lets the storm do its work without letting the rain inside the bed. It gives the inner fire a chance to catch and the ember a chance to breathe. It does not wait for the sun to return before it begins to build. Build with stone, not clouds. Stone is not stubbornness. Stone is a chosen scale, small, liftable, steady. When the nervous system is frayed, scale is salvation. A stone you can place today weighs less than a dream you cannot lift. One page read with a calm breath. One paragraph written with a soft jaw. One quiet set, completed with attention in the muscles and honesty in the mind. The body feels the reality of small completions and relaxes. The spirit senses the dignity of faithful acts and brightens. Together they remember that momentum is born where drama is absent. There is a mistake we learn to forgive and release. Waiting for an inner surge to carry us, we postpone the action that would generate it. The brain is generous but practical. It releases encouragement after movement more often than before it. The win may be modest, yet it stamps the day with a seal that says we are not frozen. That seal calms the inner alarm and reopens the path. This is why measuring reps and not mood becomes a blessing. Mood speaks the language of weather. Reps speak the language of architecture. Put them in conversation and they will find their harmony. Discouragement can make the world too loud. The mind reaches for more input, as if a flood of voices could drown the ache. Often, the soul needs fewer words and truer ones. A single line of wisdom at the beginning of the day can prime the nervous system better than a rush of noise. One honest intention written in plain language can give the body a map that fits in a pocket. The map does not demand perfection. It offers orientation. It says, keep your eyes on the stone in your hand. It says, let the sky be what it is while you place what you can place. Compassion is the secret architecture. Speak to yourself the way a wise friend would speak when the rain grows hard. No accusation, no slogans, only presence and a clear next step that does not injure your dignity. The spirit responds to this warmth. The muscles loosen, the jaw unclenches. The breath remembers its depth. In that loosening, the mind can choose again without the panic of too many options. This is how small, honest structure becomes sanctuary. It is how the day stops feeling like a verdict and starts feeling like a room with a door. If the heart protests that this is too simple, remember that simplicity is not smallness of meaning. It is concentration of power. A beam is simple and it holds the house. A hinge is simple and it opens the world. A sentence can be simple and still carry the weight of a storm. Decide once, act daily, measure reps, not mood. Let it repeat inside you like a drum under the song. Let the rhythm settle your hands. Let the hands teach the heart that faithfulness is a kind of quiet love. What 2 actions will I do regardless of mood? There is a quiet moment after a missed day when the heart sags and the mind draws a hard conclusion. The calendar looks like a broken window, and the inner voice says the effort was an illusion. One skipped step turns into a story about identity, and that story drains the body of warmth. Discouragement whispers that the thread has snapped and the whole fabric cannot be mended. It is a painful story. It is also untrue. You are not a streak. You are a living rhythm, and rhythms know how to begin again. The nervous system loves predictability more than perfection. When life grows loud, the brain uses patterns to feel safe, and safety is the soil where effort grows. This is why a rhythm heals what a streak cannot. A streak punishes the first miss and calls the person a failure. A rhythm bends. It forgives. It welcomes you back like a familiar porch after a sudden storm. With a rhythm, the body learns that returning counts as much as continuing, and that simple truth quiets the alarm that makes small setbacks feel like final exits. Somewhere inside, a harsh equation forms. One broken day means a broken self. That sentence can live for years if no one brings light to it. Bring the light gently. The day that slipped was a moment, not a verdict. The brain tracks patterns, but the soul interprets them. If you let the soul be taught by mercy, it will teach the brain a kinder math. Missed does not mean done. Paused does not mean ended. The rhythm is still yours, waiting where you left it, patient as air. There is an older wisdom that holds time like a violin holds a note. There is a season for everything. The words are not cold. They are warm and tender. They do not excuse drift. They explain reality. They remind you that growth has a pulse, and that pulse is not always visible. When you live by seasons, you make room for repair without erasing direction. You let winter be winter without throwing away your seeds. You let spring be spring without forcing summer. Peace returns because you are no longer arguing with time. Picture a metronome on a wooden desk. The arm swings with a soft click that seems almost humble. It does not perform, it guides. Now picture fireworks. They burst brilliantly and vanish, leaving silence and smoke. Streaks feel like fireworks. They dazzle and then demand more dazzle. Rhythms feel like a metronome. They may not impress the crowd, but they keep music possible on difficult days. The body relaxes when it knows the next beat. The mind relaxes when it knows what happens after the miss. The spirit relaxes when it remembers that quiet faithfulness is a kind of beauty. Resetting becomes an art when shame is not invited to the table. A simple ritual at the end of the week can restore orientation while keeping dignity intact. Review with kindness. Notice the moments you showed up, even when no one saw you. Choose the smallest next step and welcome it like a guest. The brain learns from these gentle cues. Neural pathways thicken where attention returns with compassion. What begins as a fragile restart soon becomes a familiar path, and familiarity breeds calm, not contempt, when the path is aligned with care. A weekly cadence serves like a soft drum under the day. It does not shout. It steadies. You rise, you tend, you rest, and you repeat. There is room here for the unexpected, for the child who cries, for the call that comes, for the body that asks for stillness. There is room here for small beginnings that do not embarrass the soul. A rhythm does not require everything from you. It requires what you can offer today, and it trusts that tomorrow will offer its own strength. The phrase, minimum viable day, holds more tenderness than it first appears to hold. It is not an excuse for apathy. It is a promise of continuity. It says that even when you are thin and the sky is heavy, you can keep a thin thread attached to the work that matters. One quiet set, one short session, one page read with your hand on your chest to remind your body you are present. The reward is not only progress. The reward is a nervous system that learns you do not abandon yourself when the weather turns. When discouragement rises, the temptation is to wait for the surge that will prove you are still the person you hope to be. But rhythm teaches a gentler truth. The surge often follows movement. The warmth often follows a humble beginning. The inner reward system lights up when the action confirms your values, not when you wait for a perfect mood. Each small completion becomes a lantern on the path. Each lantern makes the next few steps easier to see. Imagine closing a week in which the streak did not survive. The old story would rule that scene with harshness. The new story invites a different ending. You mark a simple return. You offer a brief prayer or a clear sentence of intention. You place the metronome back on the desk and let it swing. You walk back into the room of your life as if you belong there, because you do. The music has not left you. It was waiting for your hands. What's my fallback 10-minute version? There are days when discouragement does not look loud. It looks like a quiet drift. You open a screen for a minute and wake up an hour later with a sore neck and a thin ache behind the eyes. You tell yourself it was harmless. You tell yourself more information will mean more power. Yet the soul feels emptier, not fuller, and the work that mattered now feels far away, as if you had waved to it from across a river. Discouragement turned into distraction, and distraction turned into distance. The body knows this pattern and tightens before you even notice. Shoulders creep upward, breath moves shallow, the mind begins to skim instead of see. It is not a lack of strength, it is a flood with no channel. There is a soft lie that often sounds responsible. More input means more progress. It wears the costume of diligence. It promises an edge. But the heart is not a warehouse. It is a living spring. When you pour in everything, you dilute the water you needed most. The brain, when overwhelmed, scatters attention in small sparks that never warm a single place. The spirit, when flooded, loses the quiet sense of rightness that tells you where to place your hands. Fewer, truer inputs do not make the world smaller. They make the path clear. They bring the river back to its banks so it can run with strength instead of drowning the field. Guard your heart, for life flows from it. Hear the direction of that flow, out from the center into the day. The heart is not meant to absorb constant noise. It is meant to radiate clear intention through the body, through the schedule, through the work. When the well is guarded, the water is sweet. When the gate is open to every wind, the taste turns muddy, and the traveler goes thirsty even while the bucket is full. This guarding is not fear. It is stewardship. It is the art of choosing what gets to shape you before you go out to shape anything else. The nervous system confirms this wisdom in its own language. Each alert pulls the attention system like a small hook. Each unfinished thread leaves a loop in memory that tugs again and again. Dopamine fires at novelty and drags the eyes toward more, while the deeper circuits that sustain focus ask for less and for longer. When you time your contact with the world instead of letting it spill, you offer your biology a kindness. A short window for the headlines can satisfy curiosity without inviting the undertow. A defined moment for messages can respect relationships without letting them govern your pulse. The body relaxes when it knows there will be a return, and the mind relaxes when it knows now is not forever. Curation is love in practical clothing. The voices that reach you most often will become the voices inside your own voice. Choose them as you would choose company for a long road. One steady mentor who tells the truth without cruelty can calm 10 loud experts who are paid to keep you agitated. One wise friend who hands you a single next step can quiet a room of opinions that leave you dizzy. When counsel is chosen rather than chased, the inner noise drops, and with it the need to perform for a crowd you will never meet. The heart remembers its own cadence when it is not echoing the shouting of the marketplace. The beginning of the day holds a power that is small and astonishing. Offer the first minutes to what is true, and watch the rest lean in that direction. A simple line of scripture, a proverb held like a smooth stone in the palm, a sentence of intention spoken out loud so the nervous system can hear your voice and settle. This is not about perfection or display. It is about priming the pattern generators in the brain so that your values become the cue, the action, and the reward. The spirit calls this devotion. The body calls it safety. Together they call it peace. Think of irrigation. A wide flood looks dramatic, but it washes seeds out of the ground and leaves behind silt. Channels look modest, almost boring, yet they carry precisely what the field can drink. They protect the tender roots. They make fruit possible when the season asks for patience. You are not designed for floods of attention that pull you in every direction until you forget why you began. You are designed for channels. You are designed for flow that is chosen and guided, so that the life within you can reach the life around you without being lost on the way. There will be voices that accuse this gentleness of being small. They will say that the world rewards those who consume everything and answer instantly. But you are not a machine for processing noise. You are a person whose decisions shape an interior climate. When the climate is stormy, the smallest task feels like wading through mud. When the climate is tended, the same task feels honest and possible. Small guardrails, placed with kindness, become the trellis where your focus can climb without breaking. They do not fence you in. They keep you from falling into the ditch of constant reaction. Notice how the body changes when you move from flood to channel. The jaw softens, the breath deepens. The eyes focus not on the brightness of the screen, but on the shape of the work. This is not a miracle of willpower. It is a result of alignment. The spiritual and the neurological agree like two instruments playing the same note. Reverence at the beginning, reverence at the gate, reverence for the few voices that do not confuse you about who you are. There will still be days when distraction wins. Let those days be days, not identities. The heart does not need your scolding. It needs your shelter. Bring it back to the well. Bring it back to the line of wisdom that steadies the hand. Bring it back to the chosen voices that know your name and your path. Let the world be large without letting it flood your house. Let curiosity live without letting it erode your conviction. Let the life within you flow outward without interruption from the noise that profits from your fatigue. Which three inputs nourish me and which deplete me? Discouragement rarely shouts. It muffles. It turns the horizon into a smudged line and makes every choice feel like a guess in a dim room. In that grayness, isolation begins to look reasonable. You start drifting from the people who know your name, not because you do not love them, but because conversation feels like a hill and silence feels flat. Doubt grows heavier. In that silence, the mind loops through its own unanswered questions, and each loop tightens the chest a little more. The world narrows to the width of an anxious thought, and the heart believes it must navigate the coastline alone. There is a tenderness in admitting that strength is not self-created. The bravest people you know carry quiet ropes that run to other hands. When the fog thickens, those ropes become the difference between standing still in fear and moving with orientation. Solomon named this grace with simple clarity, that there is wisdom in many counselors, and that plans are steadied when counsel is welcomed. The ancient world understood that a single lantern may flicker in a strong wind, but a cluster of lanterns turns into a fire that does not go out. The same truth lives in your nervous system. Co-regulation is not a luxury. It is a design. Calm is contagious. Courage is contagious. Clarity is contagious. There is a loud myth that says strong people figure it out alone, that seeking counsel is a confession of weakness. The soul knows better. Seeking counsel is disciplined humility. It is not handing away authority over your life. It is choosing to let a steadier rhythm set the pace while you recover your balance. When minds meet without judgment, new maps appear in the space between them. The prefrontal lights that dimmed under stress begin to warm again, not through pressure but through presence. The body takes a fuller breath when another voice names the road you could not see. That breath is not small, it is oxygen returning to vision. Picture a coastline in heavy fog and a lighthouse sending its patient circle of light. The beam does not argue with the fog, it simply keeps turning. Counsel is like that beam. It does not erase every unknown. It gives you a line you can trust while the rest remains unclear. The soul that receives such guidance is not caged, it is oriented. Orientation is the opposite of panic. Panic says there is no path. Orientation says the next short stretch is here. With that assurance, the step you choose does not need to be dramatic to be correct. There is a mercy in pre-committing your circle before the storm arrives. In steady hours, you already know which voices carry truth without cruelty and courage without noise. A seasoned mentor who has no need to impress you. A trusted friend who can distill the swirl into one clear next move. A wise elder whose perspective widens time and shrinks despair. You do not need a crowd, you need a small constellation. When their light is known to you beforehand, you are spared the frantic search for direction while your heart is already tired. Notice how the language of counsel feels in the body when it is right. The jaw eases, the shoulders lower, the eyes find a point on the wall and soften. This is your nervous system receiving proof that you are not alone in the work. It is not only information that steadies you, it is resonance. Another person's regulated presence becomes a harbor in which your storm can rest without being dismissed. The spirit within you recognizes this harbor as blessing. The brain recognizes it as safety. From that safety, planning returns, not as a rigid command, but as a gentle sequence with room for mercy. There will be moments when pride protests. It will say that you should be beyond this by now. It will say that asking for light means you failed to carry your own lamp. Pride is loud when fear is near. Let the truth be quieter and stronger. Wisdom does not perform. Wisdom preserves. It preserves the path. It preserves the heart. It preserves the work from the sabotage of isolation. In the records of the wise, success is rarely a solo biography. It is a chorus in which quiet voices kept the melody when the soloist lost the tune. Some counsel will not be gentle, and the heart can recognize the difference between correction that heals and criticism that wounds. Healthy counsel is precise without humiliation. It does not inflate its own importance. It points you back to the values you named in the light and calls you to honor them even while the weather is poor. This is how discipline and humility hold hands. The structure you built when the sky was clear remains, and the voices you trust remind you of the doorway when you can no longer see the edge. There is also the counsel that comes from beyond people, the line of wisdom that has crossed centuries without losing breath. Proverbs returns like a faithful friend and tells you that plans fail where counsel is absent and that safety multiplies when counsel is present. You hear those words in a quiet room, and they do not accuse you. They invite you back to the fellowship that keeps your courage from becoming brittle. They invite you to remember that the wall around your life is not constructed of stone alone, but also of voices, and that those voices are stones. Imagine the fog lifting just enough for you to make out the shape of the shoreline. The relief is not ecstatic, it is grounded. You begin to feel the difference between wandering and walking. You begin to sense that help did not replace your strength. It released it. It reminded your chest how to open. It reminded your spine how to stand. And somewhere in the distance, the lighthouse keeps its patient circle, not because you are helpless, but because the sea will always be the sea, and even the strongest captain loves the sight of home. Who are my three voices of clarity? Impatience has a particular texture in the body. It feels like a hum in the chest and a tightening in the jaw, a restless wish for the future to hurry up and reveal its fruit. Comparison adds its own chill, a draft through the room that makes your work look smaller than someone else's harvest. Together, they turn a living path into a performance stage where nothing ever seems enough. You scroll through outcomes and begin to believe that effort should look like results today or it does not count. The heart grows weary under that belief. The nervous system floods with urgency that cannot be satisfied because no harvest can appear on command. Underneath the noise, a truer rhythm waits quietly for your attention. Seeds, seasons, harvests. Life refuses to be rushed, and it is not being cruel. It is being faithful to its own design. There is a distortion that sounds clever. It says that if you push hard enough and fine-tune enough variables, the future will behave like a machine. Insert effort, receive instant reward. The spirit recognizes the problem. Souls are not vending machines, and neither is meaning. Wisdom has always spoken in the language of fields and orchards because the field refuses our illusions. It tells the truth about time, and it tells the truth about scale. You cannot bully soil into hurry. You cannot make winter bloom on a schedule to soothe your anxiety. You can only decide what to plant and how to tend and how to wait with dignity. This is not passivity. It is courage that agrees with reality. Compounding favors faithful smallness. The brain mirrors this in its own quiet way. Pathways strengthen through repeated signals. Myelin gathers like a gentle coat around the circuits you use again and again, and what felt effortful begins to feel natural. That change does not announce itself with fireworks. It arrives like dawn, light by light. The reward system that used to crave dramatic outcomes starts to find warmth in modest completions. Each honest repetition tells the body that the path is real. Each calm return tells the soul that hope is not a gamble, but a practice. The orchard does not clap for every inch of growth, yet the trees keep becoming themselves. There is an ancient line that blesses patient hands. The diligent hand makes rich not only in coin, but in character, while idle watching keeps the seed in the bag and calls it wisdom. Another line warns that whoever watches the wind will never sow, and whoever stares at the clouds will never reap. These words do not scold. They free. They release you from the trance of perfect conditions. They bring you back to the humble act that aligns with season, the act that does not wait for permission from the sky. There will always be a reason to pause. There will also always be a small faith that moves in the right direction without spectacle. Track inputs, not outcomes. The sentence is soft and steady, and it slips under the skin where it can help. Outcomes happen on their own timetable. Inputs happen in your hands. Keeping a simple record of what you have sown steadies the mind the way a hand on a rail steadies a body on a staircase. The record can be brief and human, a line that notes the page you read with attention, a mark that honors the minutes you gave to skilled practice, a word that remembers the conversation you tended with presence. These marks are not a courtroom tally. They are witness stones. They tell your nervous system that effort is real even when fruit is not yet visible. Choose a keystone 1%. The phrase sounds small on purpose. A keystone is not large. It is placed with care so the rest can hold. 1% is not about grandeur. It is about continuity. When discouragement blurs the edges of the day, the keystone keeps the arch from slipping. It is the act that carries the idea of your life when your feelings cannot carry it. You can feel it in your muscles when you touch it. A practice that is always modest enough to begin, always meaningful enough to matter. In time, the body associates that motion with safety and strength. Beginning awakens trust. Trust awakens energy. Energy awakens the willingness to take the next small step. Celebrate quiet wins, not with noise, With recognition, the brain builds on what it notices, and the soul grows where it is blessed. A simple acknowledgement of a faithful action lights a small lantern along the path. Many small lanterns make a night walk possible. This is not self-flattery, it is honest sight. You are making your way through weather, and you placed another stone where your values asked you to place it. That matters. The orchard honors rain and sun and steady hands. The vending machine only honors coins and levers and speed. Your life is not a machine, and it will never love you back for treating it like one. Comparison tries to sell you a shortcut every hour. It shows you fruit and hides the seasons that raised it. The body reacts with a mix of adrenaline and shame. The mind reaches for plans that promise a harvest by evening. Slow your gaze. Look at the ground directly beneath your feet. This ground is yours. This season is yours. The tree you tend will taste of your weather and your care, and that is not a flaw. It is the signature of a life that is real. When you remember this, the resentment that made effort feel like punishment begins to soften. Effort turns back into love, the kind that does not perform for strangers. Waiting is not empty. Waiting is a form of work. Roots move in darkness while the surface looks still. Patterns settle in the nervous system while the schedule looks ordinary. Prayers sink in like water and are absorbed quietly. Months or even years later, the fruit appears and someone calls it sudden. You will know better. You will remember the rains that failed and the rains that came and the small faithful movements that continued anyway. You will remember the days when your only victory was that the seed remained in the ground. Those days count. They are the days that keep a future possible. When weather turns against you, do not accuse the seed or the season. Listen instead for the scale that will keep your dignity intact. A lighter shovel, a shorter row, a shorter session with deeper presence. The point is not to avoid difficulty. The point is to remain in relationship with your work while difficulty passes through. In that relationship, you will find a steadiness that praise cannot inflate and comparison cannot puncture. It is the steadiness of someone who knows how orchards are made. What seed will I plant for 90 days without peaking? There is a kind of gentleness that strengthens more than force. It arrives without spectacle and changes the climate inside the body. Breath loosens. The jaw releases. The heart remembers its slower drum. Practical spirituality meets emotional neuroscience here, in the simple patterns that teach safety to a weary nervous system and devotion to a hungry soul. This is the place where discouragement cannot keep you from your life, because your life has a shape that welcomes you back without accusation. As daylight thins, the room grows quiet, and a smaller version of the work steps forward like a friend, not to prove anything, not to earn permission, only to keep the thread intact. A handful of minutes given with honest presence carries more healing than an hour performed for a scoreboard. Muscles learn the weight of this modest offering. The mind learns that continuity matters more than drama. The spirit learns that love is often measured by return. The day does not end with a verdict. It ends with a gentle seal that says the path remained open. Morning opens and asks for first fruits. The beginning receives a single clear note, so the rest can tune to it. A line of wisdom read in a voice that you can feel in your chest. A sentence of intention spoken softly enough to calm the inner weather. The brain calls this priming and responds by lighting the circuits that plan and choose. The soul calls this reverence and responds by widening. What follows may still be imperfect, yet it leans toward alignment, because the first door was opened with care. Somewhere between morning and evening, a brief touch of counsel travels across the distance. A message that is simple and human. Here is where the path is. Here is the next short stretch. The body softens when another steady nervous system joins yours. The heart lifts when the light of a trusted voice finds the shoreline you could not see. This is not dependence, it is fellowship. Strength multiplies where presence is shared. Throughout the day, the record remains humble. Inputs, not outcomes. Marks that honor what entered your hands, regardless of what could be measured yet. A page read with attention leaves a trace. A block of practice held with care leaves a trace. A conversation tended with presence leaves a trace. These traces are not a courtroom. They are witness stones that tell the truth when feelings cannot. Over time, the nervous system associates these small memorials with safety and momentum. The mind learns to find encouragement in evidence rather than in fantasy. The spirit learns to bless the hidden labor that keeps tomorrow possible. There is room for mercy inside this pattern. Missed moments are treated as weather, not character. The return is always nearer than it feels. A chair pulled close to the work, a breath that lengthens, a sentence that finds its way from inside your chest to the air in front of you. No grand performance, only fidelity. The pattern holds you while your energy rebuilds. In that holding, shame has no work to do and soon leaves the room. Evening arrives again, and the day is offered back in gratitude. Not every line was straight, not every hour was bright. Yet the thread remained, the architecture held. The inner storm may still move across the sky, but it meets a house with walls and a lamp with oil. Gratitude gathers the day into meaning. The body hears that meaning and sleeps more willingly. The soul hears it and turns tomorrow into a friend instead of an enemy. This practice is not a program, it is a home. It is the sound of your feet on a floor that does not argue. It is the quiet agreement between values and action that grows stronger through repetition. Neuroscience will describe it as habit and regulation. Scripture will name it devotion and diligence. Your lived experience will know it as peace. When discouragement returns as weather, the house will already be built, and you will already know the way to the door. What small rhythm will keep your feet on the ground tonight and again at dawn? There is a voice that arrives when the day has gone poorly. It leans close and says the window has closed. It says the thread has snapped and the cloth cannot be mended. The body hears that verdict and grows heavy. The chest tightens as if the room had less oxygen than before. In that weight, the heart forgets what it knows in clearer weather. The truth is quieter. A missed day is weather, not identity. The thread lies on the table waiting for warm hands. The work has not left you. It is still yours. Another voice sounds practical and tired. It says the energy is simply not there. It points to the ache behind the eyes and the bone-deep fatigue, and it asks how anyone can build while feeling like this. The nervous system is trying to protect you. When demand outpaces recovery, the gates close to conserve strength. There is nothing shameful in that response. Gentleness becomes a form of power here. Safety signals help the body reopen. The breath lengthens, the shoulders lower, the prefrontal lights warm again. From that warmth, movement returns, not as a performance, but as a natural next beat. Sometimes the protest is about authenticity. It worries that moving without the feeling is a kind of lie. It remembers early days when passion carried everything, and it longs for that bright wind to return. Feeling remains precious, yet feeling is weather. Values are architecture. When hands honor values, the heart often follows. The inner reward systems brighten when action aligns with meaning. The glow that felt missing begins to show at the edges, like dawn along a curtain, not because you forced it, but because truth is hospitable to the soul. There is also a fear of rigidity. The word discipline can sound like a cold room. The memory of harsh standards makes the body brace, yet the form we speak of here is warm. It is a house, not a cage. It protects the fire. It shelters the ember. It holds a shape flexible enough for real life and strong enough for storms. In the language of wisdom, self-control keeps the city whole. In the language of neuroscience, structure reduces decision fatigue and quiets the alarms that waste energy. In both languages, the effect is kindness. Comparison adds a thorn to every thought. It shows you harvest while hiding the seasons that fed it. It insists that effort equals worth only when fruit is visible. The soul grows thin under that message. The field tells a truer story. Seeds rest before they rise. Roots work in darkness. Time does not apologize for its pace. The mind that attends to inputs rather than outcomes begins to find steadiness again. Evidence replaces fantasy. The day carries meaning even while the branch looks bare. There are worries about starting over again. The heart remembers many returns and fears that one more return means failure has become a habit. The record of the wise says something gentler. Return is a sign of life. Return is the rhythm of those who endure. Nothing living grows in a straight line. The path curves through valleys where even faithful feet feel slow. A pattern that allows for return without humiliation becomes a sanctuary. Shame fades in rooms where welcome is stronger than judgment. Some objections come from old wounds. Harsh voices from the past may still echo in the present, and the body may brace at the sound of any standard at all. Here, the union of practical spirituality and emotional science matters most. Reverence soothes the spirit, and regulation calms the nerves. A single line of ancient wisdom spoken in a calm voice can lower the inner weather. A single friendly presence can lend its steadiness to a trembling system. The soul learns that guidance is not always a threat. The body learns that support does not mean loss of control. Time is another protest. Life feels crowded and the hours feel already claimed. A rhythm does not demand spectacle. A rhythm finds room within reality. The metronome sits quietly on the desk and turns moments into measures. The week becomes a cycle that forgives. The day becomes a room with a lamp already lit. The sense of scarcity softens when continuity returns. The mind stops bargaining with the clock and starts trusting the pulse that was there all along. There is a final objection that sounds like sorrow. It says the results are too small to matter. It says the effort is swallowed by the size of the world. That sorrow is honest. It deserves tenderness. Yet meaning does not bow to scale. The orchard does not apologize for the time it takes to bear fruit. The water in a channel never looks impressive, yet it keeps fields alive. Quiet winds change the climate inside a person. They thicken trust. They soften fear. They build a memory of faithfulness that outlasts mood and weather. When these protests rise, notice how the body changes as truth returns. The breath finds its depth, the gaze steadies, the spine remembers its length. Wisdom is not shouting. Wisdom is a calm presence that stays when the fog thickens. It keeps a small light in the window of the house you are building. It refuses despair, its final word. It reminds you that you were made for seasons, not for instant verdicts, and that you are not walking alone. What is the gentlest truth that loosens your chest right now? The rain that met us at the beginning has not learned a new language. It still taps at windows and softens edges. It still makes distance seem longer than it is. Yet something in you has changed. There is a floor beneath your feet that did not exist in the same way before. A steadiness built from small stones placed with quiet hands. Emotion moves like weather across the sky of the mind, sincere and shifting, beautiful and temporary. Discipline stands like architecture, steady without fanfare, warm without noise, keeping the ember alive until the wind remembers how to rest. You have walked through fog that made you doubt your own steps, and you have felt the relief of a lighthouse that turns without argument. You have heard the hush of a metronome that made music possible again after the fireworks faded. You have seen a field that accepts the patience of seasons, and an orchard that grows while no one is watching. In these images, a different kind of courage appears. Not the surge that lifts you for a moment, but the deep yes that keeps you when the surge is gone. The soul understands this courage because it is made for it. The body understands it because safety feels like this. There is a tenderness in knowing that storms will return, and a strength in knowing that you will not collapse when they do. The house is not a prison, it is shelter. The wall is not a punishment, it is protection. Counsel is not a crutch, it is fellowship. Rhythm is not a cage, it is music. Seeds are not delays, they are beginnings. Quiet acts are not small, they are faithful. You are allowed to be a person who lives inside this wisdom without spectacle, who honors feeling and yet follows value, who rests without quitting and moves without shouting. The day will close, and with it the demand to prove yourself will grow silent. What remains is the path you chose when the sky was clear, the path you can still choose under a dark cloud. Let this be the kind of strength you trust, the kind that does not depend on a perfect mood, the kind that grows in the simple company of truth. Somewhere a window glows in the house you are building. Somewhere a lamp is burning because you learned to tend it with steady hands. If your feelings are today's weather, what stone will you lay before you sleep? The room grows quiet, and the rain softens to a hush against the window. You can feel the difference in the air, a steadier rhythm under the skin, a warmth where panic used to live. This is the sound of a path that will meet you again tomorrow without demanding brilliance. The sound of a house that keeps its lamp lit because you learned the gentle art of tending it. You walk to the doorway and look out at the night, and there is no pressure in the looking, only a kind of trust that did not come from a speech or a surge, but from the way your hands kept faith with the truth you loved. The journey does not end here. Wisdom has other rooms, and you are welcome in them. There is a room where choices grow clear without hurry, where discernment feels like clean light through a window, and the mind learns to weigh matters without fear. There is a room where prosperity is understood as the fruit of diligent hands and honest scales, where the spirit and the nervous system agree that steady labor is a blessing to the one who works and to those who receive the work. These rooms are not far. They open from the hall you are already standing in. As you move forward, notice how the images we carried begin to live inside you. Weather and architecture, metronome and music, lighthouse and shoreline, seed and season and the first shine of harvest. They are more than metaphors now. They are companions that return when the sky turns gray, reminders that your life can remain aligned even when the mood wanders. You are learning a language that your body understands and your soul cherishes, a language in which small faithfulness writes its steady lines until a larger picture appears. Some nights will be bright and uncomplicated. Some nights will feel like the first pages of this story, heavy with weather. Either way, the house remains. Either way, the path remembers you. It is enough to keep walking with the wisdom you have gathered, letting counsel steady your gaze, letting rhythm carry your steps, letting patience hold the time between seed and fruit. And somewhere ahead, in the quiet light of another room, more of this ancient clarity is waiting to meet you, as calm as a friend, as sure as morning.